you should always surround yourself with people that will push you forward, that are better than you, that'll bring you along, and try to be more like them. We didn't go out looking for the crappiest friends we could find and hope for the best. We made friends with the best people we could find. So same thing in business. That's what I did.
Welcome, one and all, to today's episode of the Wise Agent Society, Sharpen the Saw. This is episode 16, and thank you all for joining us. Today we have one of my best, greatest friends and colleagues and business associates, all of the things, Mr. Neal Peter, coming all the way from Polk City, Iowa, which is a suburb of Des Moines. Yes, Des Moines has suburbs and Iowa cities have suburbs, and he's in one of them. But he covers the whole Des Moines area as well as Omaha, if I'm not mistaken, with his company, which is Amerispec Inspections, and he also home inspections, and he also has a radon testing and mitigation company called AmeriServe. And did I leave out anything else? Do you have another company that I didn't shout out, Neal?
Yeah, but we'll just keep it to those two for this show.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for joining us today. How's everything over in your neck of the woods?
It got cold. We're cold over here. I don't know if we're as cold as Cedar Rapids, but trick or treat last night, it was a bit chilly. Did a lot of walking, that didn't help. Still cold, but things are good over here.
Good to hear it. Yeah, it's freaking freezing. Like, the dogs are refusing to go out on my end, and I'm like, that's how you know. I'm like, guys, I'm talking to the dogs like they can talk back. I'm like, it's going to get colder, so you better get used to it. And they're like, yeah, I'll just pee inside the house today, I think. Bastards. So thank you for coming on. We are going to chat a little bit about let's just start with how we know each other. You and I go way back to the school days, the old Schulhouse days in Marshalltown. We met in probably 6th grade, right? Or no? Ninth grade. You're right. I forgot. You're an Anson kid.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you were always around, but, even in middle school, but you weren't. But I probably saw you at Anson when we'd come for wrestling.
Track, maybe.
Yeah, whatever. For sports stuff is what I was thinking. But anyway, so Neal and I go way back. Okay, so 9th grade, and we've been great buddies ever since then, and had a lot of good times, a lot of adventures. We traveled all over the place together with our group of friends, and always had a great time. Never got into any trouble or did anything,
No, none.
Yeah, nothing off board. Everything was tip top above board that we ever did. And so, I love Neal like a brother. He's a great dude. And let's see here. Let's talk about, so you started your inspection company journey. How long ago? Maybe walk us through when that started and why you got into it and where you're at today.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been 8 years since I started, and don't really want to get into all the details because we'll be here all day. I can talk about it forever, but I believe we all have a calling in life, whether it comes from the universe, God, whatever you believe in, blow up dinosaur costume that you wore last night, whatever you believe in, something's calling you to do something. And I ignored my calling for way too long. I kind of had some pressure from my wife to try something different. My role at the time 8 years ago was supply chain engineering, designing supply chains for manufacturing companies. With this heavy component of my job was, international business. So I was traveling quite a bit, and we have 3 little ones. We still have them, but I think we had 2 at the time, another one on the way. And Heidi, my wife, challenged me to find a way to stay local. Being a dad when you're overseas or, out of state, it's not easy. It's not helpful. She was basically doing everything and working. So I didn't want her to quit her career because she really liked it at the time. So I found a way to stay local. And, I
probably loco, like loco or like local?
Like location wise, Shay. Come on.
Oh, that's making
Keep up, dude.
No, you're like, man, she wanted me to stay local.
Yeah. Oh, I was already crazy. There's no change in that. You know how we were brought up in Marshalltown. You can't escape that place being sane. So
when you're fed maid rights for lunch, breakfast, and dinner, I mean, what do you expect?
And TJ's. Don't forget TJ's.
Yeah, Zeno's Pizza.
Well, anyway, so instead of her quitting her career, I found something else to do. And it took me quite a while, to be honest. I vetted probably 50 different businesses for sale before I started my own home inspection company. And how I'd started a home inspection company, I just kind of went back to my past. I've been in and out of construction and the trades just about my entire life. I don't know why I never really pushed to do something with that further than what I had in the past. I had gone to college to learn about logistics and supply chains management, along with international business for my MBA. I was just kind of ignoring what I was really meant to do. I don't know why. But so
Under, Down, Under. Under, Down, Under was what you were meant to do.
Do you remember the show Home Improvement when we were kids?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't great. It was kind of funny. Whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Tim the Toolman Taylor.
He was really good at messing things up. He knew about everything. He couldn't actually maybe do everything. So I kind of like remembered that. I'm like, what's home inspecting sounds kind of cool. And I kind of related to that show. Like, I just have to know everything. I don't actually have to fix anything, so I can help more people because I'm not bogged down by one job, right?
Right.
Where they're finishing a basement or remodeling a house or building something where you're married to that project for long periods of time, where home inspecting, that's kind of how I got into it, was like, I can help more people kind of have a faster turnaround, be it in a new space every, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, every day, somewhere different, is a way to keep things fresh, instead of traveling to the same supplier or same manufacturing environment or working in a plant or sitting at a desk. This is a way that I can kind of mix up my life. So I started a home inspection business right at 8 years ago, and that went pretty well. I'm not big into marketing, so it kind of just grew organically. Not a big networking type of guy. If you know me, we're probably pretty good friends. I don't have a lot of, my network. I know a lot of people, but I'm not close to a lot of people, if that makes sense. So it was kind of tough to grow. About 2 years into it, or maybe a year and a half into it, I realized my biggest competitor was for sale. It kind of needed some new life put into it. The company kind of struggled for a bit. It's called Spec. So I took that over. We're getting really close to 6 years ago.
Wow.
And in that sense, it came with a few really awesome people that are even better inspectors. Just they brought me to the next level. It wasn't me taking over a team and teaching them the right way to do it. It was surrounding myself with people better than me. If you've met any of our inspectors, you can attest to that. Sorry about my ring. I'm going to get that turned off.
No worries. Maybe turn your volume on your audio down just a little bit too, for where you hear me talking.
I can't hear you at all now, Shay.
We'll turn it up a little, but if you could turn it down.
Is that better?
I think so. I think we're just getting a little echo from my voice, but yeah, it's good as long as you can still hear me.
So, and that's kind of a life lesson, you should always surround yourself with people, that will push you forward, that are better than you, that'll bring you along, and try to be more like them. So that's exactly what I did in business. If you look at our group of friends, Shay, we all kind of push each other to the next level. If somebody stumbles, we take them with us, and somebody has an idea, we help support that. We didn't go out looking for the crappiest friends we could find and hope for the best. We made friends with the best people we could find. So same thing in business. That's what I did.
I love it. Your story is super cool, and how you've been able to stick with it and grow has been cool, because it has been a long time. And when you go into business for yourself, that's one of the toughest things anybody can do. And you can't really be trained on that. You just have to have the raw desire and consistency and work ethic to make. What I like to say is you're pulling money out of thin air. Nobody's giving you money. You're never guaranteed to get paid. You're never guaranteed success. Every day you have to go out there and do it again. So, congratulations to having such a long time success with what you're doing in your business right now. And I think you said it perfectly when you said that you surround yourself with great people that help to elevate you, and everybody's lifting each other up. And that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, another thing with our team, I don't try to pretend like we're this big happy family, and we do our stretches every morning and do cheers and have all these great slogans and mottos and mission statements, visions, things like that. I got so tired of that working in the corporate world that I wanted just to be, hey, we're a group of friends that work together. I don't have employees. I don't have people that work for me. We work together. I support them. I kind of basically set this up to where everyone has their kind of own little business with none of the headache. I try to figure out the business management part of it, and just support them. Again, I'm along for the ride with them. We're just a bunch of guys hanging out, getting things done.
That's exactly how you said it is how I run my business today. Now, the way I ran my business before was a little different, but the way I can structure it now is way different, thanks to the brokerage I'm at. And that's just it. So I'm here to support agents and help them to sell more houses, not me sell more houses. I've sold lots of houses. I can sell houses, no problem. I've achieved that goal, and now I'm moving on to better. I prefer to see other people succeed, and I get success. I feel good and self-worth through seeing others succeed, and performing, just providing a platform and a place for them to be able to do that and get as big and great as they want to be.
Yeah, it makes sense, just helping others be their best. And I'm selfish, though. I still like to be out in the field, whether it's putting a mitigation system in or doing an inspection. I can't shake that. That's part of how I was brought up. It's part of being an Iowan, really. We all like to get dirty. We all like to work hard. So I'm never going to give that up completely. Some days I wish that's all I was doing. That why won't this phone stop ringing? I'd rather just be swinging a hammer. But yeah, it's helping remove roadblocks so people can do what they're designed to do, what their dream position. One of our inspectors came to me for advice, wanted to get started as a home inspector. And I'm not some salesman. I wasn't trying to, crush his dream. Like, hey, no, come work for us. I just kind of showed him some of the challenges that I have as a business owner and what it was like to get going and what it's like every day. And he's like, oh man, I just really want to do inspections. How do I do that and nothing else? Like, well, I can help you. So we ended up becoming really good friends, and he's one of our inspectors now.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we've been having a good time with it. 8 years in, I would have guessed I would be in a totally different spot than I am now. You can't predict what market's going to do, what people are going to do, how things are going to go. But what I can say, it's been fun. It's been challenging. It's been exciting. And let's be real, like any small business, there's been challenges that you wish you never had to overcome or deal with, but that's part of it. If this was easy, everyone would do it, and kind of what I like to tell people is I've kind of become almost unemployable at this point. I've been away from having a boss or a manager, a supervisor, leader, whatever you want to call them, or any kind of formal HR department structure to have to follow.
Thank goodness for you.
I just, yeah, I might get in trouble, some of my jokes. Really, on a serious note, like you get so used to doing everything your way and you're putting so much time and effort into it. It's not like I don't have a boss. We have thousands of bosses as, in the service industry. Our customers become our boss. I don't know if I could ever move back into the other world of working.
Right. You know what? I've tried it a couple times since when I first started my first trucking company back in the day, and then went back to the regular workforce. And it's tough, man. It was a super fun experience of what I did running a restaurant on the Las Vegas Strip. It was a neat thing, but still, like you said, kind of it's more like having a limitation on what you can do and how big you can be, and like what you put in is what you get out. For some people, and I know that's not everybody, but for people probably like you and me, we thrive on that. And I don't need off time. Like I'm always on, I'm always working, always playing. There is no day off for me. There's no holidays, there's no weekends, there's no nothing. And I like it that way. I like, doing business, making money while I'm on the golf course or while I'm at the gym or while I'm hanging out with my friends. So I don't mind being interrupted on any of those days to take care of business. Because, instead of being someplace 9 to 5 where I can't play and have fun and do what I want, I can do that all day, and I can make money, and I can impact lives, and I can, all of those things. But not everybody likes that. A lot of people like to have off time. They want to be on while they're on and off when they're off. So, I get that too. There's separation that's needed for some people, and some crazies like us like it just hectic and frantic kind of all the time. And I think the world needs all of those people. So it's fine.
For sure.
Yeah, so let's get into, speaking of home inspections, first of all, what does a home inspection look like? What's the process look like? And then why would somebody get a home warranty? A home inspection?
Well, a home inspection, kind of touch on a few things here. It's really just to figure out, if you're buying or selling a house, figure out what you have, what you're getting, what challenges you might be facing in the future. So what you do in a home inspection is typically you partner with somebody that's properly trained, that's been doing this for a while, that knows what they're doing, and you have them go through the house.
What about, is your dad and your uncle and your father-in-law, are those all great home inspectors for you to use?
They might be capable, but if it's not their profession, it's not really going to flow very well with the real estate transaction. Mm-hmm. And why I say that is, are those people, as Uncle Bob or whoever, do they have a way to put together a professional report that can be used to, markets are up and down lately. It's kind of been a challenge, but if you're going to push back to the seller on something, if you're the buyer, you kind of need some sort of document to start that negotiation or renegotiation, right? Mm-hmm. So does your father-in-law or Uncle Bob, do they have those things? Mm-hmm. Do they have the right type of terminology? Can they walk you through a house, make sure that they hit on everything, but tell you what is going on with it, why it's important, what it can mean in the future, and when should it be addressed if something does need to happen? Most home inspectors realize that there's a purchase agreement involved, and then there's a certain amount of time, inspection window, to get these things figured out. And it might be for the buyer's knowledge only, but here's a good example. Not to get off on a totally different story, but I asked you. You showed me. Is it Riders wrestling shoes, or Hunter's going to wrestle, right?
Riders wrestling shoes, yeah.
And I asked, have you guys been training? And that went into another discussion. But the reason why I asked that is my oldest, Declan, he's 10, kind of proud dad moment, because this is my sport, but he finished cross country Sunday. There's a state meet. He finished 7th.
All right.
I'm very proud. He did very well. He's happy with his performance, a little disappointed, but he's happy. But my kid has a little bit of me in him where he doesn't like to maybe prepare. Just like this program, Shay, I think I called you half hour before to figure out what it was even going to happen.
Hey, that was early for some folks. Most of my guests are just like 10 minutes in, like, hey, should we talk about this? I'm like, no, you're going to do fine. I'll walk you through it.
So Declan not really into training, and, being cautious, I didn't want to push him too hard. I didn't want to burn him out before he even gets to the fun part of sports, so, he did very well with, training with the team when they had practice, but nothing outside of that. Training is a big thing. Preparing is a big thing. When you're buying a house, whether whether it's a buyer's or seller's market, let's say this inspection is just for your knowledge as a buyer only. Have the inspection, be prepared. Unless you're a general contractor that knows how to fix everything and you have a supply house in your backyard so you don't need to pay for materials, repairs can get expensive. For the average person that doesn't know how to fix something, or maybe they do, but it's going to take a new furnace, or it's going to take a new roof, and you can do those things, but materials are still an expense. They're still a cost, right? So having an inspection, whether the seller may or may not be willing to do anything for you, should a deficiency be found, but at least you're going into this new property prepared, right?
Yeah.
You're training, you're ready for the event, taking over the ownership of that house. So kind of tie in personal life a little bit, Shay, with what's going on with our boys and what we do professionally.
Yeah. All of that makes sense. You want to be prepared, and then you can adjust your offer accordingly. So what I always tell people, and I tell my clients, is that the home inspection is to find anything kind of major, something that we wouldn't know about normally when we made the offer. So if it's obvious things, and there's going to be a ton of little things, I always tell people, you're going to have caulking needed on the toilet. You're going to have GFCI outlets that don't work properly, or you're going to need them in general. You're going to have maybe a small roof issue. You're going to have water supply lines that are corroded and or old and whatever. And you're going to have a bunch of things. So there's a list of things that are almost on every home inspection. And I let them know that ahead of time. I'm like, these are things that are going to be here already. And we talk about that before we even make an offer, so that when we make the offer, we're just looking at big ticket items that we didn't know about, or lots of little ones that we didn't know about that you couldn't know until you got it deeper, or somebody that knew that we're doing on a higher level. And then we make adjustments that are appropriate depending on the market and depending on the situation. Because you're right, it costs a lot of money. And a thing you touched on is you need to know if there's an expense there. Well, I mean, think about it. Like windows, for example. Say you have a whole bunch of old windows in whatever. It could be in the house, it could be on a part of the house, it could be on a Three Seasons porch or whatever. And let's just say the windows are fine, which, by the way, I open them all, and I know that we make sure all the windows open and close fine, because that could be a foundation issue if that stuff isn't working right. Anyway, but windows are expensive. So if you have to replace all the windows at sometime soon, or for a better quality window for insulation or whatever, I mean, that's a big expense. So you need to know where we're at with the life of that, and is there an opportunity to improve that you're going to have to, or that you're going to need to take at some point. So all that stuff that we cover in there, and then circling all the way back to is your father or your brother or your mother or your father-in-law, your uncle, any of those people good inspectors to take with you to an inspection? I would say no. Please don't. Please don't take them. It's fine if you want to take them, as long as they're quiet and they let the inspector do their job. I was being funny when I was saying, are those people good people? There are jokes all across the real estate world, talking about the dreaded dad comes to the inspection or whatever. And I know there are a lot of dads out there that know what they're doing, and they can be helpful. But what is not helpful is when they come in and they start causing problems, or maybe overstepping on what is appropriate for them. I mean, we hire super professional inspectors like you. So it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to come along and oversee and just pay attention, and then outside after the inspection stuff's done or whatever, if they have more questions at the end and they want to add or ask more questions in a way of being helpful, that's great. But when they come in there and they know more than everybody else, then that's where it becomes an issue, and it can really cause problems with the whole transaction. So just something to know out there, folks, is that, if you want to have some relatives come along to help and give some perspective, that's fine, as long as, and I set my clients up for that. So if I know dad or uncle or whoever is going to be involved, I let them know how it's going to work, which is a huge part of this process. I feel like if you are proactive and let people know how the process is going to go ahead of time, that makes the whole transaction smoother, because here are the expectations, here's how it works, and here's how you can be most helpful and effective, that kind of thing. So I let them know that, hey, we're going to go towards the end of the inspection. We're going to let the inspector inspect, and then we'll come at the end and go over what he's found and whatever. And then if you have any concerns or questions, in that last 30 minutes, you're welcome to ask him or her, and we'll go back through and look at anything you want in a little more detail, type of thing.
Yeah, just for example, we have a group chat that is continuously going. One of our inspections this morning had a dad there, a well-known, I guess, national brand plumbing company is just there doing something. We're not sure, but they had placed, it looks like Flex Seal on the main drain stack.
Wow.
The inspector called it out, said that's not a proper fix. And they asked why.
You could canoe in that sucker. That's what Flex Seal. You can canoe with just Flex Seal tape.
You can't fix drain pipe. You just can't. So the inspector mentioned what could all happen with that.
Mm-hmm.
And, sewer gas can leach into the home. And the dad's like, it can't get through that tape. Inspector flushes the toilet. Water's coming through that tape. If water can come through, gas can too.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just best if you leave dad at home. I get it if that's your trusted advisor, bring him with. What we see more often than not, they want to be acknowledged that they do know something about homes. We can stroke their ego just a little bit, but by the end of it, I guarantee you, every dad, every Uncle Bob, every father-in-law, whoever you bring, has learned something in the process. I mean, this is what we do every day.
Yeah.
Are we going to learn something?
I learn new things every day.
Of course, we will too. We find something different just about every day that we haven't seen before, or somebody on our team hasn't seen. But we're always able to figure it out. Whether it takes an outside resource or somebody else on our team to talk us through it, we've always gotten to the finish line. It'd be ridiculous to think that you've seen it all. And I guarantee you, Uncle Bob, Dad, and father-in-law haven't seen it all either.
Even less. They don't do hundreds of transactions a year where they've seen so many different scenarios and probabilities, and then also both you and I are a little bit more in depth on some of this stuff, knowing also what the cost of the repairs or construction cost, and whether it's major or minor and whatever, and that, and so we can give a better perspective on live what's happening now, what things cost now to get remedies done and whatever. Whereas Uncle Bob and Dad and whoever might have done it 5 years ago, 10 years ago when they bought a house or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So, and they might be specialized in one field like plumbing or electrical or whatever, but they don't have an overall perspective on, what about a foundation crack? What does that look like? What about bowing foundation walls? How much does that cost? And is that fixable? That doesn't look fixable at all. Well, it is. And there's like permanent, lifetime warranty fixes for all of that stuff. And they cost this much money. So, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that people just don't come across every day that they might not be familiar with.
That's another thing to bring up, when you're talking about who can inspect this house for me. I know somebody, or my dad can, or whoever. If you know a contractor, having them look at it. Another really important component of a home inspection is the service provider, are they properly insured? Mm-hmm. And if you're a framing company or whatever, like, oh, my friend frames houses, he can look at this for me. You might have liability insurance, mm-hmm. But what about errors and omissions? What if he misses something? What are you going to do? You're going to sue him?
You're going to sue your dad? Yeah, you're going to sue your Uncle Bob because he messed up?
Or what if they don't have any insurance, they break something in the home? Mm-hmm. Or you know how sideways deals can get if they say something is wrong and it isn't, and it somebody backs out of a deal, loses earnest money, whatever happens. Are those people qualified to get in those discussions? What if attorneys get involved? How are they gonna help? A home inspector with proper insurance, if they make a mistake, their insurance should identify the agent that they're working with. They should take on sole responsibility for that if it was their fault, of course,
Right.
And be able to handle that, or if something's missed, can they fix that on their own? Meaning, can they remedy the situation? Whether they need to dip into their insurance or get their insurance involved or dip into their own savings. Are they a legit business that's willing to do that?
Yep.
Those are things to consider. When you're waiving a home inspection because the market's competitive and you're just trying to get your deal done, that probably doesn't matter to you, but you're just kind of taking it for what it is and hoping for the best. Those people, I'd still tell them, get an inspection, even if after the fact. Going back to that discussion we're having about training or preparing for things, if you have all these ideas for this new home that you didn't have inspected, you don't really possibly you don't know what's going on with the home, what's good or bad. So maybe you might be excited to put new cabinets in or to paint and put new flooring in, but your furnace or water heater is barely alive, and that's going to be a big expense that comes up now that it's cold. We need our furnaces to work. Maybe you don't know if yours works at all. So maybe, planning and budgeting for when should I do an update, or when should I do this remodel job, or when should I paint, compared to I should probably see what my mechanicals are doing or what the roof looks like, or maybe there's an issue in my crawl space, whatever it is, our foundation, like you mentioned. It's pretty, even after the fact, it's pretty low cost process to figure out where you should be putting your money.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I've had inspections on all the properties I've bought, and I've bought and sold lots of properties and lived in a lot of places, on top of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that I've helped in real estate transactions. So, I've paid for, or put it this way. So I've paid for inspections on houses I haven't bought. You've done them, some of them, and I've done it on, in other states and other places too. Whereas, like, I'd rather spend, some of the properties I inspect are a little bit bigger than others, but if it's $700 or $1,000, because sometimes I get secondary well inspections, all these things. So I'd rather spend $1,000, $1,500 on inspections for big properties. Regular properties are not that much money. What would you say is an average house around, Des Moines area or Iowa in general for, let's say, a 2,500 square foot house, single family?
To kind of include everyone, I would say 300 to 500 is typical in that price range. If you wanted to have a sewer scope, I would budget $200 for that. $100 if you wanted a radon test. And then if you needed more environmental testing, if you had mold concerns, a few $100s to, that can get expensive quick. So that mold's a whole nother discussion, and I try to coach people through that instead of just
There's different levels. Different levels for sure.
So there's a lot of different services that you can have done by, most home inspectors offer more than just an inspection. So so that can affect the cost. But if you're just looking at a house inspection, I'd say 300 to 500, 90% of all homes would fall into that.
So my point with that is that that's a great price to pay to not buy a house, because if you find things in there, which I have, like we've done it, where there maybe there's issues that are not overcomable, or maybe they are, but let's say they're not overcomable, then that's a small price to pay than getting stuck with a house that costs tens of thousands of dollars down the road in problematic issues. You know what I mean? So I think it's well worth having the inspections done. It's as far as the money goes. So some people might want to save a few $100, but I'm like, save a few $100 to, lose tens of thousands? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So I think it's smart to have the inspections, and then any additional ones that are potentially there. It's better to get all that stuff out of the way up front than deal with it later when it could compound in price and cost.
Yeah, and if you needed to sell your home quick, if you're relocating for work or something, and you have all these projects to do that you can't necessarily afford, or something that's major that no one's going to buy the house as is, or you could be upside down pretty quick, or you could get in trouble pretty quick. So So yeah, it's painful to watch somebody walk away from a house. But at the same time, if it's for the right reasons, then, hey, they dodged a bullet, or they found something better, something that they can actually manage. The repairs are
Yes.
at a level that they're comfortable with.
That's a good way to put it too, by the way. Not everybody thinks problems are problems, right? It could be an issue for one person, whereas the other person's like, that's super overcomable. I'm usually in that second pile, so I'm always telling people like, no, this is piece of cake, man. Give me the most, damage and problems you can find. I'm like, I just smell money on that. But not everybody is that comfortable with, or can even imagine like what that would be. Like they don't see it, they don't know it, they're not comfortable with that risk, and that's totally fine too. And
it really just comes down to that, is it's not a good fit for them, and we'd rather have, repeat customers. We're doing multiple inspections for people because they bought a house, they bought an investment property, they bought another house, whatever, a vacation home. Not that there's a lot of those in Iowa, but we like those type of return customers, not the one that's had 4 inspections and still doesn't have a house yet. At that point, we're just looking at the wrong house. We're looking for the wrong houses.
There's an issue in there somehow, somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a breakdown, right? It could happen, but that would be weird to get through 4 and still not move forward on one. Now, then it's like, okay, we need to adjust something. So there might be an issue with the communication between the seller and the agent, or the buyer and the agent. It could be a lot of things, but yeah, you're right. Everybody's goal is to get them in a house.
Yeah, and it might just be, I'm guilty of this with certain areas in life, but you might not, as a person, know exactly what you want. You might be in denial. Like Beaverdale is this neat little area in Des Moines, and Heidi loves it and really wanted a house there. It's these cute little Beaverdale.
Oh, Beaverdale, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these cute little brick houses, but they're all old, and they take constant maintenance. And this was before she met me. She's just, just out of college, busy career woman, doesn't have time to do that. Beaverdale is not near her family, so her dad couldn't be up fixing things all the time. Just not a good fit for her. Now that she has me, she likes to brag like, oh yeah, now I could have my Beaverdale brick. Like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm too busy for that. But no, it just wasn't a perfect match. And you all as realtors know that's hard to find the perfect match. That's what your job is to match people with homes. But sometimes you have to really show people what they want. They might not know.
Yeah, I think it's partially is a saying is that you are as successful as the level of questions that you ask. So I think that as real estate professionals, real estate agents, and probably any business professional, the most successful ones ask the best questions, the biggest and best questions. So they help people figure out what they want by asking a higher level of questions instead of, just going through a process willy-nilly where people don't really know what they want or whatever. It's similar to a restaurant. I've compared it to restaurant servers and such. A good restaurant server will walk you through the whole meal. Like, you shouldn't really they should be proactive, asking things that you like, don't like, walking you through it. You should never have to ask for anything. They should be proactive, you won't even know that your cups are being refilled and that your plates are being taken away and that your placemat's being crumbed and all that stuff. All that should just happen automatically for a high level, great service, person. And they're asking questions and tailoring the whole experience too. It would also be similar to a personal shopper if you were to go out. Not that I've ever had that, but they tailor the whole experience to you and ask lots of questions so that you're looking at only looking at things that are relevant to you. And it makes it a lot more efficient because they help you to get where you want to go faster. You know what I mean? And they don't even know that you're doing it. That's the point. Is a great professional. It's not like anybody's placating to anybody. It's more of just taking them through the experience and giving them an amazing experience and helping them to get to whatever their goal is.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. So what on inspections? What Well, here's another thing. I wanted to ask two things. So I wanted to ask what kind of different inspections you have. Like, are there new build? Are there condos? Are there commercial? Is there just residential? And then I wanted to also go back to your report you were talking about and, how that looks.
Yeah, so we do offer a few different types of inspections. Most of our inspections are for residential, for resale houses. There's this, we do a lot of new construction as well, but there's this weird like perception or myth that new house is new, obviously by the name.
They have a warranty.
Yeah, it's warranty, it's problem free. No, none of that. That's not true.
They do have warranties, but they also do have issues.
Yeah, there's some builders that are better than others. Some have some challenges, but if it's this simple, if you look at it this way, homes are built by people. Yes, we are starting to 3D print houses. It's kind of neat, but still takes people to program and to help with that system. But houses are built by people, and most of us are not perfect. I guess I can only speak for myself, but we've all written papers, written letters, and proofread them ourselves. And it looks perfect. Send it out. There's always something that you miss. So much of it we read from our head and not what's really on the screen or on the paper. Mm-hmm. So homes are kind of the same way. Things can get missed. There's a lot of moving parts. Most homes that are constructed are not built by one single person. There's subcontractors involved. There's a general that oversees everything. There's site managers and all that. But things can get missed. So it's kind of when I started in this industry, I really wanted to go after new construction. That's how that was kind of the aha moment was what I was going to do for my own business. Was we had just built a house and had plenty of trouble with it. I just wasn't able to be here the entire time. I didn't hire an inspector because I knew it all, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. I was experienced enough to know what to look for. I just didn't realize I wouldn't have enough time to actually look at it at every phase. Mm-hmm. Once you close on the house, ours had a warranty too. How often has the builder been back to fix anything in that first year?
0.
Yeah. The builder is a friend. I would use them again. I would approach it much differently, knowing what I know now. But I didn't want other people to have the same problems. You buy a new house, should be a turnkey solution, right? That's what you're getting. It's new. So I didn't realize it'd be such an uphill battle to coach people into having inspections on new construction. So we offer a few different inspections for new construction. When it's finished, right before they close, we do phase inspections.
Yeah. What are the phases?
So at the footing stage, at the framing stage, and at the finish stage.
Yep.
We've had people, and most of the people that hire us to do that are doing a custom one-off build, a higher-end home. But it really should be done at any point. And if you're building a new house, you need to talk to your builder about this. Don't just show up with an inspector. You might get in trouble, or you might damage the relationship you have with that builder. Builders don't like surprises. Most of them don't want just people showing up at their job site. Another time to do an inspection with new construction is right before the warranty expires, because once that happens, you're basically on your own, just like your car, right? When you get to 100,000 miles or whatever the threshold is, those are your problems, So that's another type of residential inspection we do is new construction, and we can tailor that to however people want us to look at it. But once you kind of have the drywall up, you can't see what's behind the walls, where they routed things, and it's a great time to take notes. For like our house, I pulled communication wire and speaker wire throughout all of the walls where I might want to put an entertainment center, so I can have everything centrally located and, tie TVs together and different zones together. When I did that, I took photos and notes of where everything is located, so I don't have to just cut random holes in my drywall looking for my wires.
Yeah.
So good time to do that when you're building a house. Also, planning on where you're going to put bracing or blocking for like toilet paper holders or towel bars, things like that. Or if you're going to hang large or heavy artwork or mirrors or things like that, putting extra bracing in the wall so you have a solid surface to mount those to. And then taking note of where that is. Once the drywall's up, it's a guess,
That's super smart. So question, when you're doing the inspection on these, for a client, do you take pictures of that stuff and like?
We sure can. And
do you suggest to the builder, hey, that, you could suggest to the client, say, hey, that I want extra bracing for this toilet paper or towel rack, because oftentimes they're just put in the drywall and they rip out of the wall, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to have that extra stuff there so it will never move ever.
Yep. You're right.
So you can suggest that to them, and then the client can suggest it to the builder and request it.
Yeah, and we're basically there to make sure that was done. If they had a list of special things, so that would be at the framing stage. At the footing stage, making sure all your rough ends, all that stuff is coming together like it should. Rebar is not too close to the surface of the concrete where it can start to corrode and start to fail. Those types of things. The footing stage is actually pretty quick inspection. It doesn't take too long. Framing stage is long, sometimes longer than your typical inspection. And then once the drywall's up at the finished stage, your typical inspection could be on average 3 hours. So just having, and we tell people, be involved, attend, be at the inspection for as much of it as you can be. That's your chance to get to know the home and ask any questions you might think of, whether it's new or an existing home or a new home. Especially if it's an existing home, you don't get that much time on your walkthrough, or I guess your showing to see the house that you're going to put an offer on, right?
Right.
Get 15 minutes, half hour tops.
Yeah,
inspection is 3 hours. So, that's a great time to measure, get a feel for how things kind of flow through the house, make a plan for how you're going to move in and where your stuff's going to go, and then really get to know the home as far as how the mechanicals work, what's going on with the roof, the windows, all that. Ask those questions to the inspector while they're there. They should be happy to answer that as they go.
Yeah. And just throwing this out there, I do this at a high level, and I do it for my own properties. We've moved 20 times in the last 15 years or 16 years. And so when I'm looking at houses that I know my client kind of likes it, I start, and every time while we're looking at houses, I pop open the utility room. I look at the furnace. I look at the water heater. I look at all the things that is not glamorous and that they don't necessarily care a whole lot about. They're trying to see if they could imagine themselves living there. But me, just being the professional I am, I'm looking at that. I'll even take pictures so that if they do get more serious about it, we're already doing preliminary assessments on what that could be to give to our inspector when they get there. Just like the house I looked at last night for my family. I have a ton of pictures. I took 3 pictures of the actual house, and I took 15, 20 pictures of the geothermal and the water heaters and all of the stuff, for that, because that's what I want to know. Because geothermals are really expensive. I've replaced one. So, knowing that stuff ahead of time, and the more ahead of it you can get and give to your inspector, the better decisions you can make,
Or even a step ahead of that, if it weeds out a house that's never going to get to the buyer's finish line, you saved everyone a whole lot of time and potentially money. If you find something like, hey, I know you guys are looking at closets right now, but here's what the foundation looks like. Is this something that you're going to be willing to tackle? And if it's no, then move on to the next house. Find one that has the big fancy closets and no foundation cracks. So yeah, it's a good way to do it. It's not the fun, sexy part of the house, is getting into the nuts and bolts, but it can make or break a deal, right? So, and
we'll check it out. So we have about 5 minutes left in the show. Let's just real quickly go over the other inspections that you cover, and then maybe a real hot, overview of what the inspection report looks like, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So I think there is at least one person still in our market that prints off reports and hand delivers them. That's a neat service. It's not really, efficient as far as time goes. Things in real estate have been moving really fast the past few years. The reporting setup that we use is all.
Well, real quick, before you do the report part, I was going to say, what are the other inspections? So you do some commercial? We covered residential and both existing or resales and new construction. We have not talked about multifamily or commercial. We do both of those probably as much as anyone, if not more, in our area. We've been up to 50-unit condo complexes, to fraternity homes, to duplexes, sixplexes, things like that. We do a lot of multifamily. Commercial inspections, we do quite a few of. What size commercial would you say?
Oh gosh, it could be from just like a store, like in a strip setup, to large warehouses, manufacturing environments.
Okay.
We don't get into anything industrial. There's just not that we would be afraid to tackle it, but we don't get those opportunities often. They're usually looked at by contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I can't tell you what the biggest place we've looked at is.
No, I just was mourning, like, for people out there, if they have, I just want them to know about all of the different things that you do and can handle, because they might not think about that part. I didn't even think about it till you brought it up today. It's the commercial part. So for commercial, I can't share lots of details, but we've looked at for large companies that have stores in multiple places. We've looked at a lot of their facilities, whether they're chain stores or franchises. We've been hired by property owners to look at stores. There's a lot of warehouses and what do you call it? Like maybe retail stores that we've looked at. That's always kind of exciting. People are like, "What do you here? Why are you in my store?" Because it has to be during business hours usually. So always fun to tackle those projects. But stores that you guys probably go into and out of every day, we've inspected. So generally you do commercial, and the scope's pretty big, just not real big industrial stuff, right?
Yeah. And multifamily is just, we work for a lot of different investors that are growing their portfolios.
Yep.
They've had a good experience with us in the past, so they just keep calling us as they grow. So that's always exciting to watch other businesses thrive like that. And we'll go all over to do that. There's some investors that will look at property here in Des Moines and Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. So we do travel a little bit for some of our larger clients. But for the software, back to that, we use same setup for all of our inspections, where it's this digital platform where typically we're taking notes with our phone or our device while we're there and photos, and then we compile it all on a computer and send it out. Typically the same day, if not within 24 hours, just depends on the size of the project. But that way it can easily be shared with others, other family members, other agents, anyone that needs to help. Our software, you can make kind of your request list, if I could speak. Let's say you needed to, you were going to negotiate with the seller maybe, and you want to give them a list of things that were important to you. Our software can make that for you. Or you just needed to make a list of things that you needed to do yourself, or maybe you're going to hand this off to a contractor. Like, hey, I need to get this to my plumber. I need to get this one to my remodeling company that I'm going to use, or whatever. You can kind of make task lists with our software. So that's sweet. It's kind of a plug for my own business, but if your inspector isn't using something that's, agile like that and efficient, where you can get information to the right people quickly. A lot of times our inspection windows and the purchase agreements over here in Des Moines are 5 days. you got to move pretty quick, and people are busy. Contractors are busy. So
Yep.
if a contractor can look at maybe the photos from an inspection report, and maybe even talk to the inspector on what's actually needed, they might be able to give you a bid quickly or over the phone.
Yep.
Instead of having to, schedule a time to go to that property and take a look. And by the time they get there, is it even going to be within your 5 days or whatever your inspection window is? So it's just kind of our way to help people be efficient.
Yeah, I love it. I've used your software, and it's great. And just to frame it up for people out there, these inspection reports are around 40 pages long a lot of times. And they have photos in there of all the things that are good and bad. So you're going to have, proof of, this is how this area looked and it was A-okay. And here's stuff that isn't so good. So that's what I like about it. It's a comprehensive report showing the good and the bad. It's something you can look back on. So like, man, you forget about it after you buy a house and then there's an issue and you're like, boy, did that come up in the inspection report? Like, I don't remember. And then sure enough, it was there. Sure enough, you knew about it. Sure enough, whatever. Or maybe something was missed, and that's fine too. But it helps you to make good decisions and budget correctly, and also just have a copy of all of the ins and outs of your house. And you're right in the fact that you go through and you compile, a list of, if you're doing a request for repairs, of things that you didn't know about and that you need to present. So it makes it all very nice and easy. It's in one package. Even though it could be an overwhelming package, but what I like to do is, like I said, preface that these things are all going to be in here. So when those are on there, it's not weird because it's a used house. It's not a brand new house. And even the brand new houses have a huge punch list. So all houses have issues, and you go through and you pick up the things that make sense and you discuss. What I do is I give, and then you have a summary page, I imagine, right?
Yep.
So I like to look at the summary page first, go through that, see what I think is important, say, here's things that I suggest, this is what I do for my clients. And then I'm like, take a look at this, tell me what you think is important too. And then we're going to get together and we'll go over kind of what things cost, what things mean. Is this a big deal? Is it not a big deal? And then we'll make a decision to move forward or not, or however we're going to do it from that report. So those reports are super duper duper handy and beneficial for the immediate use and the long-term use.
What was that?
I was saying that it's super beneficial for immediate use and long-term use.
Yeah. Okay. I got that. I didn't know if there's something else. I know we need to wrap up here, and maybe another show we can dig deeper into some of the other inspections that we mentioned here at the end. But
yeah, also, give us a summary of all of this stuff, and you can take us out.
Yeah. One thing that I didn't mention was a pre-listing inspection and when and where that might make sense. Mm-hmm. So we maybe next show, if I get invited back again, we can talk about that and dive deeper into some of these others. But really, for what our company provides, and we didn't really talk about radon today either. We can get into that another day.
Yes.
It's pretty important if you're in Iowa or a state that has high concentrations of it. But so inspections that we were mainly talking about today was resale and new construction. We also offer pre-listing. So if you're a seller getting ready to sell your house, and that would be a fun discussion, Shay, to why does that make sense and why may not make sense. But a pre-listing inspection, we do a lot of those. Then we talked about a little bit about multifamily, whether it's a duplex or a 50plex, and how those, you didn't get into how or why we inspect those, but we can at another time. And then commercial and what that looks like. So
I think we should have Tara schedule us, or we'll pick a time and we can go over those things, whatever, commercial. But I like the radon. We should really talk about radon inspection and mitigation and how that works, and even the drains.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that's really great stuff, especially around here where you could have possibly cast iron or clay sewer drains running through your front yard or backyard. Orangeburg too. Isn't that the weird? What is that material? I always forget.
We call it pipe product. It's kind of like a hot dog.
It's like composite pressed something.
Yeah, it's fibers and tar basically pressed together. It's awesome. Gets a bad rap, but it's been around for hundreds of years.
Oh, I thought it was garbage because it always grows tree roots through it and stuff.
Well, if you think about it, it had a 50-year lifespan, and a lot of it's still going strong. So
okay.
It's a bad word in real estate. I get why it freaks people out. It can't really be repaired. You can't water jet it or rotor it out.
Oh, okay.
But it's held up this long. It's kind of like an old Chevy that's got 500,000 miles on it and it's rusted in half. Like, well, it's made it this far. Why quit now?
So not complete garbage, but there are better modern materials.
There's way better options. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the end of the world if you have Orangeburg. Unless it's collapsed. If it has failed, that's the end of it. But if it hasn't totally ovaled out or collapsed, there's solutions to fix it, to prevent it from doing that. So we can get into that. Shay, I should mention that we have a CE class for real estate agents solely on that. We have new construction, we have green building, we have managing expectations, CE classes, you name it, that are all I guess in Iowa and Nebraska are all certified classes. So if you have agent friends, or if any of us do that would like to sit through one of those classes with us, I think we have 6 or 7. We have a radon class too. If that's something that's interesting to you and your colleagues, let us know. We can get something on the books.
Cool. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So I'll wrap this up with Neal has been an active member in the community at large, but also with the real estate association community. And that's why he has come up with these different CE classes that you can take to get more knowledge and get more value. So he's always pouring back into the community. I know he does that. I know that he sponsors different things and events for different real estate companies, and he's there and willing and ready to be of service to the real estate agent community at large. So please reach out to him for any of your needs. And he's happy to chat on the phone. I hope I'm not just volunteering you, but I know that he's happy to help walk anybody through any process or questions they might have on housing and inspection related things. And then and all the things he discusses, that we've talked about a little bit here. He's happy to help with all of that stuff because he's a great guy and a great business person and a great friend, of course. So thanks so much for being such a good member of the community, and also for being my friend, and also for being on my show. Thanks for coming today, and really appreciate you being here.
You bet. Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yeah, we will schedule another one with you soon. And for all of y'all out there, catch me on this Thursday. We'll be doing a what is it called? The weekly National Real Estate Market Update, I believe, with I'm not going to say who because I don't really know for sure and I don't want to mess it up. But join me at 11 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, Thursday, where we talk data. I think it's in California, not San Diego, but I'm not positive. So come and find out who we're talking to. And I hope you all have a great day. Ciao for now.
See ya.